it's Meg, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a journal with me for day 8 of Junk Journal July. So today's prompt is wallpaper, and I think this is quite an interesting prompt because this could be anything from maybe the offcuts of wallpaper that you have from rooms that you've decorated in the past. You could be using wallpaper samples, or you could take inspiration from the patterns on wallpapers, whether that's more modern ones or sort of more vintage ones. There's a lot of different things you can do. Now, I had this random piece of plain wallpaper, really not that exciting, and I was thinking, how can I use this and make it look a bit more interesting? And one of the things that popped into my mind was those wallpaper sample booklets that you see in different shops. And I thought, why not make a little mini version of that for my own journal? So I cut this wallpaper up into strips, and you can see me there kind of paging through as if it's a sample book. And I was just testing there because it is going to make my journal quite bulky, but we'll deal with that at another time. I was just really excited to do this idea. So then what I'm doing is creating a bit of a staggered look to this so that I could see what was underneath on the other 2 layers kind of showing through. And so then what I needed to do next was create some backgrounds on these, and I came in with like some coffee and some tissue paper, just the standard things that I do, because I wanted these to be a little bit different from each other but still have like a thread running through them that kind of brings them all together. So I knew I wanted to do different techniques. We're about to do collage, paint, stitching, doodling, you name it, but creating this base just allowed me to kind of bring them together in a cohesive way at first, just so that there was some sort of harmony between them all. And I'm using some excess water here just to dilute this and soften some of the edges of this coffee. The wallpaper took it pretty well as far as wallpaper goes. I was half expecting it to not take to it at all and kind of just bubble on the surface, but luckily I was able to work it in, and I think it provided a really nice base. I also didn't want to cover the entirety of the wallpaper strips. I just wanted to start adding those layers in. And then once I had finished, all I did was just dried them with my hairdryer, just so that I didn't have to wait around for the coffee to dry. So now that they're dry, I'm just sort of arranging how I think I might want them to be in the kind of final version. So seeing which bits I want to peek through on those layers underneath. And then I'm coming in with my tissue paper that I have already coffee dyed, just to add a bit more texture. Now, in hindsight, I would not have done this on the piece that I am painting because it was so difficult to add my texture and extra bits with my pencils when I came in after it was painted. So definitely would not recommend adding the tissue paper. It just didn't play ball, and I wish I had left it off for that section. But then I did also like the texture. So for the actual paint bit, it was fine. And I did actually like the kind of different textures that I was getting from the bits that were sort of a bit wrinkly and weren't like sitting flat. That was great for actually adding the paint, but coming in with my coloured pencil afterwards, it made it really, really difficult. And the tissue paper was even like moving around. So whether it's the case that I didn't glue it down properly, which could totally be the case, because I'm also guilty of not doing that all the time, not making sure that my things are glued down properly, so it could just be user error, to be honest. But it's something that I would not do again because it just made life really difficult. But I managed to stick it out, and then I decided I wanted to add some stitching to this piece for some extra details. The needle that I used was probably a bit too big for this as well. I couldn't find my smaller needle, but then I did think that maybe the wallpaper would be quite difficult to poke a needle through, and it was, but it just meant that I couldn't have some of the more, like, finer details on the stitching as maybe I would have wanted. But yeah, I wanted to do leaves originally, but then I ended up doing stitches that kind of hinted at the fact that they were leaves. And I think that actually worked quite well for the more abstract nature of the piece that I was doing. This piece in the middle got the most love in terms of I was throwing everything at it. Like you saw the coffee, the tissue, the stitching, the painting. I was coming in with pens in a minute, all sorts of things. This one got really involved, and as I was doing it, because obviously I had the wallpaper sample idea in my mind, and I was just thinking, like, if I was a customer and I was presented with this sample booklet, I would not want that wallpaper on my walls. Can you imagine how busy you would have to have, like, such a plain room to have my wallpaper, that like creation of my wallpaper on your walls? So I would not have that on my walls. But then it also got me thinking about like designing your own wallpaper, which I think would be really cool. And I'd love to know what you would put on your own like wallpaper design. Like if you could design your own wallpaper, what would you do? I mean, I love the murals that you see people create, and they'll do big paintings on a wall. Can't say I'm brave enough to do that just yet, but I think that would look really cool as well. But yeah, maybe some big leaves, or I don't know, just some nice soft tones, things like that. I think that would look really nice. Definitely as a focal point, maybe not around the whole room, but like, you know, I'm just imagining like a nice fireplace, and you've got your nice sort of patterned wallpaper and a nice mirror, and you're all cozy with all your craft stuff in a little chair. Like that just sounds really nice. And yeah, that's what I was thinking about whilst I was creating this. And so here I'm just adding some definition to these leaves, fighting against that tissue paper, and I came in with my white pen just to add some highlights to this. And to be honest, I was also fighting against that feeling of what on earth am I doing? Like when things aren't kind of turning out the way you want them to. That's kind of how I felt here. I just wasn't loving how it was turning out. I do like it in the end, but gosh, when you're just in that midst of like, what am I going to do next and how am I going to make this work? I think the best thing to do is to just keep going. So that's why I grabbed out my green Tombow marker, and I thought, well, I can't possibly make it any worse. So let's start adding some sketchy details and see how it goes. Then I decided what might be quite nice would be to add in some extra layers, as if I didn't have enough already. And I grabbed my MU rub-ons, and these ones just so happened to match the colour palette that I was using pretty well, and I think they worked really nicely to add some more depth and contrast with the colours as well, because those roses there are darker compared to the pink flowers that I was using. So I think that worked really nicely, added some nice soft details. And after adding so much to the middle layer, I decided to keep the top one really simple. So I just added one of the larger MU rub-ons, and I think this gave a really nice soft effect. I really didn't want to make it too busy because I knew I already had the floral layer underneath that was kind of doing all the work, so I didn't need to add much more. And then for the larger one, I took inspiration from the May journal that I'd pulled out at the beginning of this video, and I wanted to do some black sort of line work, and I was using my Tombow that didn't really work too well on the wallpaper, so I was kind of going over the top of it. It wasn't resisting, but it wasn't the true black that you normally get from like a pen like this, so I was just kind of working that in, and I really liked the bold lines against the softer background and the contrast that brought. I thought that worked quite nicely, and I just loved the effect that it gave. So I was just doing some simple like leaf doodles, nothing too fancy.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you. Do this every day, and I'm still so amazed by you. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two, me and you. being more than friends, yeah. You know I'm here to stay every single day, yeah. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two, me and you. Oh, 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 I can't believe you love me. Oh, 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 I just feel so lucky. Oh, 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 still can't believe you love me. Falling into your arms, dancing up in the stars. Oh, where I'd rather be than with you. Oh, oh, I can't believe you love me. Oh, oh, I just feel so lucky. Oh, oh, still can't believe you love me. Oh, oh, I can't believe you love me. Oh, oh, I just feel so lucky. Oh, oh, still can't believe you love me.
And so after stapling it together, all I needed to do was stick it into my journal, and that is me checking, do I really want to stick something so thick into my journal? But I just decided to go for it because I actually really love how this turned out. I added the tea stained paper on the back of each of the layers at the top so that I can come in and add some hidden journaling if I would like to. And I just think that it looks really cute in my journal. It's something different, a bit more interactive. And maybe it's something you might like to try in your journal. Let me know if you do. And on the left hand side of the page, I ended up just adding a rub-on and I didn't really know what else to do. I might end up just leaving it blank, but for now I kind of felt like this was enough for today's prompt. So I hope you enjoyed joining me again for this Journal With Me session. As always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.